bolster your immune system, help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, the natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from theembassyofthemoors.org. Theembassyofthemoors.org. turn that down. Monitor speaker just a little bit too close. A little too close. Monitor speaker was too close. But hey, listen, I'm getting ready to jump in here in about 10 minutes. T-minus 10 minutes. And I'll be starting the show as it occurs to me. Your host, Dolph Day, Brother Dolph, otherwise known as. From the Learn More Truth channel, Learning More Chronicles, it is me, Dolph Day, and I'll be up in about 10 minutes. Stay tuned and be ready. Get your notebooks out. gotta get worked up for this. That's my green room music. That's my green room music, more or less. And gonna get underway here momentarily. Just taking care of some loose ends, as I have a lot of those, and split ends too, by the way. Let's see, bring that in. I don't know which one's going to be the normal theme song, but this seems to be kind of like it. So when this cuts out, we'll get underway. Start today. Real simple. All right, I'm here, y'all, as it occurs to me with Dolph Day. Brother Dolph here, your hopefully enlightened and somewhat illustrious host, depending on who you talk to, who you speak to. Good afternoon, everybody, or good afternoon. Good day, everybody, wherever you are. It is at the top of the hour, and as promised, I was going to be here today. But before we do that, though, I want to give praise and honors to the Most High, whomever it is you might follow, and those whom are the Most High's messengers, that being the Most High being Allah. I want to wish everyone out there a good day, safety in their travels, and if you catch this later, I wish you all the best. Let's take care of some housekeeping, shall we? Here's all my socials information right there on the board. I want to thank you for viewing at any point in time that you're viewing this, whether it's live or afterwards on my Facebook, YouTube pages, and the Cash App is at the bottom should you want to consider donating. It takes finance to build a nation, by the way. I'm not so forward to say that's what it is I'm doing. Well, however, I am trying to do that. Content ideas, compliments, suggestions, noblemormon@gmail.com, noblemormon@gmail.com. But before we even get to go any further, let me play this commercial spot real quick. Bolster your immune system. Help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassyofthemoors.org. The embassyofthemoors.org. Yes, indeed. Please visit the embassyofthemoors.org and also More Beauty. I'm going to put the information up there as well. There's also a link to that, I believe, at the embassyofthemoors.org website, which I do represent, and they are actually sponsoring me throughout this program and inspire me to do more. And I'm affiliated with the Embassy of the Moors. I'm not ashamed to say, nothing to be ashamed of. But because it's about my process as a learning more, and a lot of things come under that umbrella of Learning More Chronicles, Learn More Truth. At the top of this screen, you're going to see the link tree, or the link to my link tree, which will open up some more things that I'm working on. But be sure to please like, share, and consider donating to help support me in the creation of additional content in the future. I have a lot of things in the queue, a number of things in the queue I'm working on, and I would really appreciate your help on that if you feel it worth your time and energy. At least give me a like or something. Let somebody know I'm doing it. Even if it's a dislike, I'll accept that, I guess. You're going to hear noise in the background because I'm broadcasting from, well, a less than most sanitary studio, but we make the best of it. Good day, everybody. Also, too, you'll see the picture on the screen of on the left will be my beloved and dearly departed grandmother, Callie, posing with her mother, my great-grandmother, maternal great-grandmother, Mabel. They both have no longer been with us. My grandmother, Callie, on the left, she's been gone for 20 years. Today, if she was around with us, would be her 98th birthday today. I love you, Kelly. I miss you, Mabel. Nana, she passed away when I was roughly going on 3 years old. And I miss her dearly, only because, I miss her. Because I do remember her. I remember her long, beautiful hair. And we were told that we were of indigenous background of Seminole affiliation. And a lot of us are. They have both each in their own ways inspire me, and they continue to inspire me to this day. So just wanted to give them each more or less a spiritual shout out to them, especially my grandma Callie too, as well, since today commemorates her born day. All right, folks, everyone was thinking it. I just said it. And today's topic on the show, what is that topic? Man, being the covert aggressor. And I'm saying that in a most nonviolent sense, and I'm not proposing anything, that anyone do anything harmful to anybody. Yeah, well, it must be construction noise in the background. They're always working on around here. When I have headphones on, so I pick up every little noise, and it's very sensitive condenser microphone. Achieving an objective without outwardly appearing that you are. The show is about my perspective, adopting certain key methods and strategies and reaching an end goal that best suits and represents the overall interest of a given situation. An aspect as it relates, more specifically anyway, to being Moorish-American and being within a certain existence, having to lead your business every day, conduct affairs, right? It's just my personal depiction and standpoint. Not saying I'm an expert, just going forth and presenting my POV or my point of view as a representative human being, as a member of the general public. I'm not intending to dissuade or engage in any baseless rhetoric or be unsettling in my approach to having a conversation. I'm just sharing my viewpoint. So this is purely speculative right now. I do intend on presenting facts, and hopefully it can be something that's relatable to you, that you can understand. Because you see, the supreme art of war to subdue the enemy without fighting, right? That is the supreme art in the art of war. If you can subdue your enemy without fighting, it's a win in my book. And also, according to Sun Tzu, you should not engage an enemy more powerful than you. And if it's avoidable and you do have to engage, then make sure it's on your terms and not that of your enemies. I think that's pretty smart, a smart outlook to have. Because certain elements of Moorish society believe conversely that we should overturn everything and that we should go on the offensive. When that may not necessarily be the most promising, the most flourishing, the most effective approach. Things happen in steps and in incremental steps in different cases, different situations, depending on what you're faced with. It's just smart, and it's good strategy to plan, because, well, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I'll say it again. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Not saying who's right or wrong, good, bad, or indifferent, but I am referring to the case that's gone public that has happened to a group of nearly a dozen young men who are standing tall as boards, as it's said popularly. As it's also said popularly that they were standing on their square. Some of you out here who follow the news probably more than just, I don't know, average, have some thumbnail depiction of what went down on July 3rd, going into July 4th, Independence holiday weekend. Some of you have drawn your own conclusions. Most of you have not. There's a lot of people out here that are undeclared Moors. Some people that are just, well, basically conscious and don't know everything about what's going on. I certainly don't know everything of what's going on, but I have been watching it, monitoring it, based on the information that's come available from each side. And sure, you can dispute the position of those involved that took the actions that they took. But however, as it's said, you can't play chess in a chess game. What I've also heard said before that's attributable to most everything in life is you shouldn't bring a knife to a gunfight. It's just wise to learn to pick and choose your battles. Most especially when you're dealing with, well, it's an occupying government, isn't it? We're saying de facto, we're saying fictitious, we're saying colorable by book definition. How does it apply in a contemporary sense as you go out to lead your affairs and assume the affairs of man? It could mean costing you your freedom momentarily. It can mean posing a minor inconvenience. It can mean affecting your income, your salary, and your status, your perceived status in society. Sure, we can argue about the antiquity associated with the existence of the Moorish Empire. We could talk about the accomplishments made by those of Moroccan descent. But we do understand that modern day Morocco is its own country over there. We do understand that Morocco no longer exists here in form, only in theory. Morocco only exists here in theory right now. Until we're able to change it and resurrect things. We need to do the work. We need to initiate methods and infuse an ideology, which is all it is right now, an ideology, without being assaultive, without being an agitator, to the degree in which is obvious, to the point where the occupying government, because they do exist, and I don't mean to be too far reaching about this, but those of you that are involved within Moorish society, practicing certain customs therein, you pay taxes, right? You pay taxes. I'm not going to what if this, but you pay taxes. There's some out there that subscribe to the customs that have driver's licenses, whether or not it's to drive, specialized commercial vehicles or just an average run-of-the-mill, everyday driver's license as a privilege to operate an automobile. I'm not here to play semantics with you. I'm not here to go over ancient definitions of a word, even though they do use these words in court through what's known as the legal process of jurisprudence. We need to help ourselves. We need to educate ourselves, each of us. And as it's being said, we need to form a body politic. A body politic needs to be functioning, in position, and functioning. Here's some words from Noble Drew Ali, recognized as our prophet. And I'll read it aloud as you see it on the screen. I'm going to leave the European here just long enough to teach you how to run government. Think about that for a second. And the others on the screen, I'm going to read them aloud as I get this out here. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, so bear with me, folks. And I know that's okay. Let me see. What I was intending to do, going along with that, was reading the preamble to the Constitution of the United States that says, and I'm going to actually read part of it. Well, I'll read the whole thing, and then I'll come back. We, the people of the continent of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Just reading that alone, what does that say? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Let's break that down for a second. So you're identified as the people, right? The precursor. We're talking the precursor to the inception of the corporate United States structure, right? We, the people. So that would be those of a republic, those of us who are of a jural group or jural government or position, as I heard it said as of a constitutional republic. So we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, which means there was a union in place that needed to be perfected. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, for the United States of America. So for that construct, that being the United States, corporate states versus the union of people. That's what that tells me. That's what that tells me. So let's go back to what the prophet says. And I'm skipping around here because these were some of the canons that he's believed to have said, words that he said himself. So I read the first one. I am going to leave the European here long enough to teach you how to run a government, right? It also says the European is our fellow man. The European is our fellow man. Also, correction on that, let your good deeds outnumber your bad deeds, and when you pass away, you won't have anything to worry about. Let your deeds outweigh your good deeds outweigh. I'm putting words where they don't belong. Let your good deeds outnumber your bad deeds, and when you pass away, you won't have anything to worry about. Lastly, from those are the ones that stood out. I got these this morning, by the way, and they're publicized. It says, I have got detectives everywhere. I have got detectives everywhere. What possibly might that mean? I'm curious. All right, I'm going to take a brief 5-minute break. Going to get set up for the next segment, and I'll come back to you within about, I don't know, let's say about 5 minutes, somewhere in there. What time is it now? Yeah, I'll be back in 5 minutes. It's 20 after now. I'll be back at 25 past. Be right back. right, I'm back on the scene, ready to resume. Just had another shot of coffee. Another shot of coffee to keep me going and revved up. You should see me in the green room, man. I say green room because that's kind of the mentality I like to have. Now, where did I leave off? Well, I just want to opine that far too many of us want to rush in. See, the problem is that, as it said, fools rush in. You don't go into situations half baked. You don't go into situations without a plan because, as I've alluded to said earlier, fail to plan to fail. And when we don't make plans, well, things don't quite work out. But first, the commercial. Bolster your immune system. Help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassyofthemoors.org. The embassyofthemoors.org. Oh, let's see. I'm going to take my dose right now, y'all. Yep, there it is there. And the benefits, well, I don't know if those of you have looked into it, but the benefits of the hemp seed oil: thicker and smoother hair, weight loss. I have noticed weight loss. I have actually been on this for roughly 3 weeks, and I've noticed some measure of weight loss. It might just be water weight, but I'm keeping track of that, and I'll report back to you. Reduces stress and anxiety. That's true. My heart health, that remains to be seen on my next exam, hopefully. Diabetes, eczema, acne, premenstrual tension, psoriasis. It moisturizes skin, and it is an anti-inflammatory. 100% hemp seed oil by More Beauty. I have a 4-ounce bottle of it right here. Trust me, believe me. So if you can get it, please feel free to cop it. It'll help. Well, it'll help out the mission. It'll help things out. It'll help unify. It'll help to support. We need finance. We need it bad. In order to build a unified effort. Okay. The embassyofthemoors.org. You heard it. So I'm back after a break, about to get back into it. Let me change these images right here. And we'll go into it, okay? I promise I won't delay you too long. So we went over the prophet's sayings, and we went over some that I found from Sun Tzu. So all this really has to do with what has been, well, prophesized under the auspices and the ethos of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Was first recognize our nationality. Birthright also acknowledge that too. But there are methods in which to assert that I submit are required in order to achieve that end. And the prophet, well, he had started doing that, as you notice in the photograph here, and I'm going to share my screen actually, because I just realized that you're not going to be able to see it unless I share the screen. So give me 1 second as that goes up. We're going to share the screen with you right about, let's see. Give me a moment. I'm going to try to share the screen here. I think that might be the right one. Yeah, that might be the right one. I don't know if this will be a good shot for you, but we'll see. Let me see here. Actually, hold on a second. We're going to do that. Need to zoom up on that photo. All right, it's not going to go any more than that. I don't believe. I was going to try to share that photo a little bit more gooder. Let's see. Well, on the prophets, I would say left would be one Oscar DePriest, U.S. Congressman. As a matter of fact, I have an audio that I would like to actually provide for y'all, which would draw a better picture. Let me see here. Here we go. All right. Give me 1 second. It's coming.
Noble Drew Ollie was a supporter of Oscar DePriest and helped him get elected by Moorish-Americans during a time in America when so-called African Americans were not allowed to vote. Noble Drew Ollie encouraged the Moors to cast their free national ballot and elect DePriest, among others.
So reading between the lines on that, if you would, what conclusion would you draw? I know a conclusion that I can draw from that there was a difference between Moorish Americans and African Americans, because African Americans weren't allowed to vote at that time because of the title of being non-descendables. They didn't consider it a nationality. So he helped him get elected, helped Oscar DePriest get elected by forming a political body, a political action committee, if you will, in modern parlance. To wit, he used the system in so that it affected or stood to affect change in a positive sense. Right? I mean, he tried, and that was a measure that was likely possible, utilizing his influence over people to get them to, get on the bandwagon, right? And wait, there's more for you right here.
Oscar DePriest entered the 71st Congress as the only African American in the House of Representatives. In fact, his election ended an almost 30-year absence of African American representation in Congress. Although he sought to represent all residents of his Chicago-centered district regardless of race, his unique position in Congress made many African Americans around the country feel that he also represented them. Throughout his political career, DePriest confronted racial discrimination, including in the Capitol itself as a member of Congress. Before DePriest even started his first term as a representative in 1929, some reporters and members speculated that the House might attempt to prevent him from taking his seat. The representative assigned to the office next...
Yeah, that didn't escape my view now. That didn't escape my view now. What also happened in 1929? I'm not talking about the stock market crash either. Why? Yeah, partially I am. Stock market crash. And the prophet, that's when the prophet changed form when he passed on in 1929. But I digress. Continuing.
Next to DePriest in the House office building refused to take it. Southern congressmen did not want to sit on committee with him. His wife's attendance at a customary social tea for congressional spouses hosted by First Lady Lou Hoover at the White House caused a national scandal and an outpouring of racist vitriol directed at the Hoovers and the DePriests.
Now, thinking about that, I wonder if one of those members, the Southern congressman, if one of those Southern congressmen was Strom Thurmond. I hadn't really dug that deep. I mean, I was putting this together, but it just occurred to me, as it occurs to me, the name of the show. But as it occurs to me, just, listening to this narration, it's saying Southern congressman, thinking of Strom Thurmond. Guess who idolized Strom Thurmond? I know some of you don't watch the news and don't really care for, politics and whatever, contemporary politics. But he goes by JB, and he is in the office, in the Oval Office right now. He was a follower of Strom Thurmond. It's been publicized. Reading on.
Priests. The discrimination DePriest faced did not subside once he settled in as a member. In 1934, 5 years after his arrival in Congress, DePriest confronted another high-profile instance of racial discrimination. As discriminatory Jim Crow policies became entrenched in America in the decades before DePriest arrived in Washington, segregation also became entrenched in the House. The House's restaurants were no exception. When DePriest arrived at the House of Representatives, there were 3 options available for taking meals in the Capitol: a members-only dining room, a public restaurant, and another smaller public restaurant in the basement for African American staff and visitors.
So how about that? A little bit of history this morning, huh? His story. But it's something that's better than nothing, right? So anywho, what I'm saying to you is this. It requires cooperation. What we want to do in order to achieve objectives, our end goal, it may require cooperation. It may require collaboration to some degree with those of the position in the occupying government. This one photograph is one that stood out to me because I saw the gentleman on each side. You know, let me share my screen again. Well, I think it is up there. It should be up there. Yeah, it is up there. There was another mode that I had it in. I was going to use it for background. Anyway, the picture on your screen, you have the 2 gentlemen flanking Noble Drew Ali. And I did run across something about the gentleman that's on the Prophet's right side. Another person that's affiliated. These are business people at minimum. They're dressed in business attire and they are conducting business with this religious organization. Now, some would submit or dare to say that the Prophet was compromised, that the MSTA, Moorish Science Temple of America, was compromised at its very beginning. Some would even say that's the reason why it became a religious organization. But I believe it was a rather shrewd move on the part of our Prophet. Because if we look at, well, the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, it states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. There has not yet been an amendment to the amendment. So it's my thorough understanding that he was using the Constitution. The Prophet was, and well, directing us to follow the Constitution, or at least get an understanding of it, because it's a contract that the government, the occupying government, that I use it as, that I say, well, that's a contract that they have to stick to. They have to abide by it. So why not become incongruency or with incongruency of that contract as being the people of the Union, with full knowledge that the 14th and 15th Amendments are unnecessary because we are the people, are of the people, right? Well, that's the way I've come to look at it. Hopefully that helps. Maybe that's to be understood. By the way, I think I'll put my disclaimer up just for coverage, just for CYA and I'll read it out loud because it's coming from me. The views and opinions expressed on this platform in this presentation are solely those of the individuals participating, including myself. All content therein being of informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. There is no intent to encourage, support, or promote illicit or illegal activities or any behavior that can result in harm. And fair use has been assumed and considered applicable, say that 3 times, applicable practice throughout the course of this public presentation. Rights regarded and reserved. No infringement has been intended by my presenting this today to you. In learning more truth, my quest, which it is that I've embarked upon myself, for myself, chiefly, primarily, as I make certain considerations. The show, as it occurs to me, and it is what it is, both vehicles for me to advance information and get it out to you the way that I can see it, the way that I've, researched it. Because there's some research that comes with this, right? I'm not just going off half-baked. I may be able to produce receipts. And I want to, again, thank you for viewing. I'm still going to carry on. I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break here soon. But again, I want to thank everyone for viewing and checking this out, even if you drop by for a minute. Just leave me a like on your way out, if you would. Be sure to like, share, and please consider donating to help support the creation of additional content. Check out my link tree right there, the QR code on the screen that's in the middle next to the words, thanks for viewing. Facebook, YouTube, and the Cash App. I have no shame, folks. I need to be supported for this. And if this, if there's any way that I could actually make a little bit of something to help offset some expenses in putting on this production, it will be rather nice. Questions, comments, contact topic suggestions. You see the email at the bottom of the screen. All right. Let's see here. Let me see what else do I have planned? We'll see what we got. We'll see what we got here. Just making some changes to the green room here. Not wasting of anybody's time because I do actually have content and I'm not stringing y'all along either. But what I am going to do is take a break. I'm coming up on quarter till. I'm going to take about a 5-minute break and be back with y'all. All right. Come back. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I promise. Maybe sooner. And I want y'all to consider something. Some of y'all out there on Facebook that might even be hearing this have products available or service. Please get a hold of me because I would like to actually do a voiceover for you and introductory first time offer of free for the free $99. If you'd like to get in touch with me, please noblemormon@gmail.com. noblemormon@gmail.com. And I'll definitely do a voiceover for you. If you like this one, I can do better. Well, no, that one's pretty good. The one that I'm getting ready to do right now is pretty good, right? Bolster your immune system. Help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassyofthemoors.org. The embassyofthemoors.org. All right, all right, all right, all right. Enough of that backing track already. Don't mean to be late, but hold on one second. That's what happens when you have a little bit of static playing. That's when you use the headphones and you hear, you pick up every little thing. You could probably hear like a flea fart. Hold on a second. There we go. Nope. All right, that's much better. Much better. It's kind of tough being an audiophile when you're trying to do these types of things. I want things to turn out right. And hold on a second. Must be static cling. Anyway, welcome back to As It Occurs to Me, your host Dolph Day, Brother Dolph, as I've been called. Nobody really calls me out of my name, do they? That's really cool though. Let me see. Let me get there we go. Here it is. I wanted to show that. Yeah. So we're here again. As it occurs to me, just a perspective of things the way that I do see them. By the way, I am actively or currently a Texas state commissioned notary public, by the way. So if you are in need of official documents to be notarized, I'd appreciate a phone call or an email. My company is called Noble Notarial, and I also can go mobile pretty much anywhere in the state. You know, applicable charges do apply, mileage and that. But should you need notary public services, notarized documents, notarization, I would like for y'all to reach out to me. My commission is good for another couple years. I do plan on renewing it. And things have been kind of difficult because of this social dilemma that we're facing, which I am flying over and navigating over. By the way, you may have seen this graphic here, spread the word, reap the rewards. It's simple. Refer a friend, 10 friends join, you earn a free bottle of hemp seed oil, 4 ounces worth, which, by the way, is available at a pretty good price on its own. So I would highly suggest doing that if you could. Brother Dolph back again here. I need to do a couple of things in the background before I commence with the show. Okay. All right. Something just I was looking for my banner, my breaking news banner, but I can't seem to find it. I want to provide some breaking news from a thinker. I consider myself a thinker. And I had been trying to find my banner, but I cannot locate it. But that's all right. That's okay. In breaking news, there is a museum. Let me make sure I didn't jump ahead. Well, there's a museum opening up in the LA section, or the Leimert Park section, rather. Leimert Park in Los Angeles, an area which I'm personally familiar with. Have family, friends that have lived there, still live there to this day. So Leimert Park. I'll give you some background about that real quick. All right, here we go. Man, that thing's slow.
Leimert Park is a neighborhood in the
Leimert
South
Park.
Los Angeles region of Los Angeles, California.
Leimert Park.
In the 1920s as a mainly residential community, it features Spanish colonial revival homes and tree-lined streets. The Life magazine / Leimert Park House is a Los Angeles historic cultural monument.
I'll read that myself, with the exception of, the word Leimert Park is Leimert Park. It's known to be Leimert Park. Okay, it's not Leimert Park. Anyway, Spanish colonial revival homes. And as is known, there's a lot of Spanish-like-ish architecture, adobe-type structures throughout the state of California, otherwise known as the Khalifa territory, which otherwise breaks down to being Moorish land. Moorish territory, Moorish inspiration, right? That's present all throughout Los Angeles, Southern California, Pio Pico, which you're going to hear.
Leimert Park is named for its developer, Walter H. Leimert, who began the Subdivision Business Center project in 1928. He had the master plan designed by the Olmsted. Frederick Law Olmsted. Frederick Law Olmsted was an American landscape architect, journalist, social critic, and public administrator. He is popularly considered to be the father of American landscape architecture. Olmsted was famous for co-designing many well-known urban parks with his senior partner Calvert Vaux, including en.wikipedia.org Brothers landscape architecture firm managed by the sons of Frederick Law Olmsted, 1822 to 1903, the landscape designer known for Central Park in New York City, and other major projects. So that was a link that was embedded in the paragraph. I apologize for that. It was a Wikipedia link to this, to Frank Law Olmsted. And when you do think about it, architects have some influence, don't they? Or they can likely have influence on
social conditions, social perceptions, societal perceptions, because they're constructing objects that people can see. I'm not just saying that they can be swayed, but they can be influenced. One of the most notable Moorish-American, or they refer to themselves as possibly African-American, is Paul Williams, who actually designed a number of buildings all throughout the country, not just, the greater Los Angeles area in Southern California. In fact, he is responsible for a number of monuments throughout Los Angeles, including the theme restaurant at LA International Airport. Also, the Golden State Insurance Building on what used to be Sugar Hill in or the West Adams District area somewhere, West Adams District, Sugar Hill area, which is ironic in and of itself because the Harbor Freeway and Santa Monica Freeway intersection, let's say the southwest quadrant, used to be a location, an area where a number of our people once occupied before they built that freeway. I believe it was constructed in the 1950s. But anyway, so leading you up to what, let's see, what Leimert Park is, right? There is a property, a lot that's vacant. And what used to be on that lot was it was a assembly hall. Sometime after that, it became the Total Experience nightclub. I believe during the 60s and early 70s. And it also became a record label, Total Experience record label. And I think they had some studios housed in there, in that location. Among the groups that came out of that studio or off of that record label, Total Experience Records, was none other than the Gap Band. The Gap Band, GAP, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. That section in Tulsa, Oklahoma, affected by the race massacre of 1921. And 100 years later, there's a man who is responsible for crowdsourcing just over, well over $1 million. And $7 million is apparently needed to erect what is being called the Hidden History Museum, being touted as the country's first Black museum of untold Black history. It's an effort by, a gentleman who actually has a rather extensive profile on social media and has released several. He says several, but I'll let you hear him tell the story. He'll tell it better than I can.
Greetings, family. This is Tariq Nasheed. I am your community servant. Right now, I am in South Los Angeles on the world-famous Crenshaw Boulevard. And with your help, we want to build the first ever Hidden History Museum right here in the Leimert Park area of Los Angeles, which is the cultural epicenter of Black Los Angeles. Right here on Crenshaw Boulevard, right here, there's an empty lot for sale, and it's in the perfect location for our Hidden History Museum. We want to acquire this lot so that we can build your community museum. There's museums that touch on Black history, but they don't get too deep into it. This will be the first grassroots owned and controlled Black history museum in the world. In our museum, we want to touch on a lot of things that are not touched on in other museums. There's such vast history of Black people here in Los Angeles that we're going to touch on alone. For example, Pio Pico, who was the once governor of California. There's a street, Pico Boulevard, named after him. He had Black ancestry. Francisco Reyes, who was the first mayor of Los Angeles, he had Black ancestry. The grandmother of Los Angeles, Benny Mason, who was a former slave who became the wealthiest woman in California. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff in the museum. Also in the museum, we're going to have 5 basic sections. We're going to have a master teacher section where we talk about the teachings of John Henry Clark. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Amos Wilson. We're going to have another section for Black inventors. We're going to talk about the Black people who invented things like the modern refrigeration system, the modern toilet system, the modern home security system, and so much more. We're also going to have a section talking about Black explorers. We're going to talk about people like Estevanico the Moor, who was very instrumental in discovering a lot of spaces here in the North American continent. Speaking of Moors, we're going to talk about the Black Moors who conquered Southern Europe. The Black Moors are never talked about in museums. This is going to be the first time it's talked about in our museum. We're also going to have a section talking about Black rebel leaders, like the Black Seminoles, like other Black Maroons. We're also going to have a section talking about the real history of Black music, particularly the foundational Black American history of hip hop. I've produced a lot of best-selling documentary films, including the Hidden Color series. So a lot of things that's in our documentary films are going to be featured in the museum. And speaking of the films, we're going to have a screening room upstairs in the museum where we can screen our films on a regular basis. We're also going to have large meeting rooms where we can have conferences and community events for the people. Not only will this museum be a great cultural institution, this museum is going to be a great tourist attraction that will help revitalize a lot of the Black businesses that are already here. But family, we need your help. We need at least $7 million to get this project completed. And we're going to start doing everything in stages. We need at least $1 million in the first phase to get the museum project off the ground so that we can acquire the land. Everybody who contributes to the museum, we're going to have a wall in the museum with the names of all the donors. So your name is going to be built into the foundation of the museum. So we need you to get involved. There's going to be a lot of other perks as well. So everybody get involved. Let's make history. Let's take control of our own community and our own history. Get involved with the Hidden History Museum right now.
Well, what can you say, man? Can't really knock anybody's effort for trying. I made a couple purchases of the brothers' videos before. Great content, great information, and I'll pretty much just leave it at that. I just wish them the best in this endeavor, because you can see that by my abilities to produce content, well, it's a fledgling effort to say the least, but I'm humbled. Anyway, I'm sure those of you might have even seen it, may have even donated to the effort. Feel free. At least it's constructive works. But I'll be honest, I have a little skepticism. All right, I'm going to say it as it occurs to me. Okay, this is my show, and I have been supportive of his projects before, but I haven't. Well, the only DVD I got had to do with Haiti. Yeah. So, man, that was a pretty decent effort. And the other Hidden Colors presentations, I think I've seen most, if not all of them. The information is available nowadays on your own. It just makes it more convenient when somebody else produces it, right? But as it said, the museum will feature a plethora of artifacts. Well, I'll narrate it.
The museum will feature a plethora of artifacts and material featured in these films. Sold-out screening of one of the Hidden Colors documentary films, The Hidden History Museum, will focus on presenting global Black history, and it will also emphasize foundational Black American history as well.
But you see, there's an issue I have. I'm originally from Los Angeles, born and raised. Didn't leave it until, well, I was well into my 40s, 40-something, when I left Southern California, basically undoing the migration that happened, of which my family was a part of, leaving this state in 1900 to go out to California by way of stagecoach in 1900. Members of my family touching down in the southern inland, what will become the Inland Empire, but the lower desert area of Imperial Valley or Imperial Valley area, Imperial Valley region east of San Diego back in 1900. And then making their way to Los Angeles proper 4 or 5 years later, when my great-grandmother would attend public school in the LA city schools. My issue, first of all, it being, well, in Leimert Park, which is great, but I think, well, I think the resources could have been better used, or the effort could be used to build something else. Because, well, who goes to museums? I'm just saying. The reason why I asked that question is because there is a museum a few miles east of Leimert Park. That museum being the California African American Museum. I'm trying to find the tab for it. I don't have it right now. I'll pull it up in a minute. But the California, here we go, right here. Listen to this.
The California African American Museum is a museum located in Exposition Park, Los Angeles, California, United States. The museum focuses on enrichment and education on the cultural heritage and history of African Americans with a focus on California and Western United States. Admission is free to all visitors.
Wait a minute. It's a public museum, so admission is free to all visitors. A lot of expenses, I'm sure, are covered by donations and docents, and it's maintained by the state. Let's see what the mission is. Visitors. It's going to repeat that again.
Visitors.
Yeah.
Their mission statement is to research, collect, preserve, and interpret for public enrichment the history, art, and culture of African Americans with an emphasis on California and the Western United States.
My question is, will the Hidden History Museum do what this California African American Museum do? Will it research, collect, preserve, and interpret for public enrichment the history, art, and culture of African Americans with an emphasis on California and the Western states? But I guess he's suggesting that it goes further than that. That museum, the museum on Crenshaw, smack dab in Leimert Park, and the flyover, and having been there personally before, the parking is going to be a problem. And I'm not naysaying it. I'm just thinking that, I don't know, something more beneficial could have gone there. Really? But anyway, let's see what we have here. Let me get this. Actually, I'm going to read this aloud to you. The history. Leimert Park is a 1.5 square mile planned community in the Crenshaw district, and we already went over who it was designed by, Olmsted and Olmsted, a firm headed by sons of Frank Olmsted, the architect and master planner of New York City's Central Park. It was created by Walter H. Leimert in 1927 as one of LA's first planned communities. It was restricted to white residents until 1948, when Los Angeles's restrictive covenants were struck down by the Supreme Court. Matter of fact, my mother was born in 1948. So she didn't get a chance to quite experience restrictive covenants, even though they were still there. Their covenants were still there. The vibe was still there. Why do I know? Because I actually study a little bit of history. I've studied a little of Los Angeles area history, by the way. And okay, I'm trying to share the what I'm reading to you aloud. Give me 1 second because I actually had it on another browser. That's what it was. Get the link. I'm going to pull this up. Copy. Because I want to share with you what I'm reading to lend some legitimacy to the production here, just in case. And I also want to do right in citing my information. Give me 1 second. By the way, all my tunes, these are my tunes, ladies and gentlemen, so no copyright strike today. All right, let me share this tab with you in just a few moments. Lights flashing, there we go. So y'all could read with me, perhaps, if you hadn't pulled it up on your own computer devices or phones or tablets. Give me a second. You know, on another note, I just found out that my son, who's in public school, one of the classes that he's carrying will be advanced placement physics. Scary. He's really going to have to really keep up because in order to, you know, play sports. And let's see if I can read this somehow. Here we go. All right. I suppose, yeah, I'm going to read this while you read along if you'd like. And so they were struck down. The restrictive covenants were struck down in 1948. Restrictive covenants, clauses written into property deeds that, let me open this up a little bit. Nope. Okay. Here we go. All right. Written into property deeds that restricted where people could live were initially created to keep the Asians, Mexicans, and Jews from moving into white neighborhoods. But as the black population in Los Angeles grew, the covenants were used to restrict their migration into white neighborhoods as well. Let me see. I don't think I'm okay. 6 pages. Although blacks had lived in Los Angeles before the turn of the century, the real black migration began in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Newspapers and Pullman porters who moved back and forth across the United States spread the news that Los Angeles was a place where African Americans could buy homes and get decent paying jobs, which is what my ancestors did. In the 1920s, or in the 20s and 30s and 40s, however, blacks were forced to live in overpopulated area, in an overpopulated area along Central Avenue. Yeah, that was a contrivance, because if you saw the section of Central Avenue that they're talking about, yeah, you would know. 91-year-old Lamert Park resident Verna Deckard Williams came to Los Angeles from Texas in 1924. My great-grandmother was here, and her father was here before that, 24 years earlier. White men had burned down her father's auto shop in one town and beaten him in another. Hearing there was an opportunity in Los Angeles, he moved his family out, but was again faced with some racial hatred. He moved into a house on 58th Street, and the whites wanted them out. The white neighbors tried initially buying them out and then forcing them out. Let me see if I can read this here. The voice is going to be different. I'm going to use a narration program. It's going to sound kind of choppy, so bear with me.
50 of them came to our house and stood on the lawn. 2 of them came up to the door. The other 48 stood on the lawn with a sign, KKKs, and it took the local sheriffs 2 hours before they came. And by the time they got there, Papa was home and Papa was cleaning his Winchester. He had a Winchester from World War I. So he was cleaning it and getting ready for 'em. If they were gonna come back, he was gonna start shooting, cause he said, I'm not running anymore. He left Texas because of the problem, and he said, they're not gonna run me out of my home. So he got a gang of people from 12th and Central. That's where the colored business section was at that time. They volunteered to come out there and help us protect our home. And so every night they'd set up all night waiting for 'em to come back. but they never came back, so finally after a month, Papa stopped having the people there and we all settled down.
So around this time frame, just to give some perspective, okay, my family members, my maternal family members, actually took up property over north and west of there by about maybe 5 or 10 miles, right, over in an area called Glassell Park, where 98 years ago today, my grandmother was born. Or she actually was born in Imperial Valley, but she was raised at that house that they had in Glassell Park area. So, reading on, because I do apologize that the narration voice sounds a bit choppy, but I'm working on it. So yeah, I'm actually not really needing to share my screen anymore, huh? Give me a second. All right, let's see how that goes. Actually, let me do this voice here. Here we go.
Until 1948, blacks could not live west of Western Avenue. And while the covenants were enforceable by law, their effectiveness depended on the vigilance of the white neighborhood. Minorities went to great lengths, however, to break the covenants. Sometimes, light-skinned blacks would pose as the buyers, then would move their darker-skinned neighbors or family into restricted areas. After the restrictive covenants were struck down, African Americans began to move west in greater numbers. First settling along Western Avenue in the 50s and then further west to Crenshaw Boulevard. Realtors took advantage of the situation, scaring the whites out of the Crenshaw area with a technique known as block busting, frightening the whites into selling their homes by suggesting that their children would be mixing with these bad elements. That it would no longer be a safe community. The Crenshaw Neighbors Association, formed in 1964 with whites, blacks, and Asians in the area, worked to maintain an integrated community. However, by 1960 many of the area's whites had fled. The Crenshaw district, while still integrated, became the core of the black community. Leimert Park Village, the shopping district, is a cultural mecca with the character of Greenwich Village. Leimert Park itself is a triangular park at 43rd Place. The village is a one-square block bordered by Crenshaw Boulevard, Leimert Boulevard, 43rd Street, and 43rd Place. Leimert Village's main street, however, is Degnan Boulevard. With its two-story Mediterranean-style buildings, it runs through the center of the block. Over the years this area has become an oasis of African American art and music. It all began with the Brockman Gallery, founded in 1967 at 4334 Degnan.
4334.
Says Brockman co-founder Alonzo Davis, after the Watts riot, there were a lot of artists doing works that were politically significant. They were making statements that were social. We filled a gap and a void there. We just opened a window that had never been available, especially on the West Coast. The Brockman Gallery nurtured the early careers of respected artists like David Hammons and John Outerbridge, and the more
established, hold on a second.
Established black artists also exhibited there: Elizabeth Catlett, Charles White, John Biggers, Noah Purifoy, and Romari Bearden. The Brockman Gallery no longer exists, but the cultural renaissance it fostered during the 70s and early 80s continues. The area today is struggling to maintain its identity as several of the long-term tenants are being forced out by redevelopment and rapidly increasing rents.
Yep.
But the area still boasts galleries, coffee houses, performance spaces, restaurants, and Afrocentric fashion and merchandise shops.
So I have to wonder if, well, the redevelopment and rapid rising rents means gentrification. It just means gentrification. So I have to question if having the Hidden History Museum there is going to be of benefit to this area. Is it going to be a shot in the arm to make things better for our people? I have to question that. I mean, given my personal situation, I've actually reversed or have undone, and I'm not the only one, of course, because the population, the so-called African-American black population in greater Los Angeles has left it. I'm not the only one. Who can tell me, because I hadn't looked it up before this broadcast, well, who out there can tell me what the population is of so-called black people that are doing okay in the city of Los Angeles, much less the county of Los Angeles, but the city of Los Angeles specifically, and the Crenshaw district specifically, other than those that are able to afford to live there? I'd submit, if that museum does get built, it won't be for the people that live there that can't afford it. Just saying. Just saying, as it occurs to me. I don't really see a benefit in that. I think something else could have gone there. Perhaps a school. Perhaps something else of more tangible benefit, like a health food market, organic food market, a holistic health center. But a museum that was crowdfunded, perhaps by people not having a stake. And for what I understand is that depending on how much you donate, you'll get your name on a wall. You'll get commemoration. What I'm saying that this is a vanity project. That's all I believe it might be.
Fifth Street Dick's Coffee Company, a storefront coffee and jazz house, was key in the post-92 renaissance of Limer Park. It was run by Richard Fulton, a formerly homeless man, who for 4.5 years had lived on the streets of downtown Los Angeles. His logo showed a man pushing an overflowing shopping cart.
Wow.
Tables and chairs outside were the location of intense chess games, sometimes going on until 1 or 2 a.m. Inside, people lined up for coffee, read, and, upstairs in the jazz club, musicians jammed sometimes until 5 or 6 in the morning. He said about Limer Park, "It's like it's reborn again, and the birth is from the inside. It's black ideas is how it's done. It's black folks who are going to enjoy it. It's black, and it's not stolen from anybody." Sadly, Richard passed away from throat cancer in 1999. Fifth Street Dick's remained closed until 2005, when his longtime companion, Irma, reopened a coffee house at a new location in Limer Park.
Support it. Leimert Park, by the way, I'm going to correct the narrator. Leimert Park, support Fifth Street Dick's if you can. I'm unable to do it. I live way too far now, of course. Yeah, I'm not saying that we ran away to defect from it, but it's gotten way too pricey in a number of ways. But there are still some places there in that community. The World Stage, Chaos Network, and Project Blode. And this is from Leimert Park, The Story of a Village in South Central Los Angeles, a documentary film. Museum in Black, Vision Theater from Marla Gibbs, Babes and Rickies, Pan-African People's Orchestra, play on the name orchestra. So there are a few grassroots cottage type businesses that are still there. I'm curious about the corporate interest, as far as a corporate interest that would best facilitate the people. Just curious. So as it occurs to me, I don't really see a gain in that. museum being erected there. I just don't see it. But what am I doing? Just talking about it. Again, thanks for viewing, everybody. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. Let me see what else I got. I think at least I'm going to take a break. Yeah, I'm going to take a break for a few more minutes. Be back. All right, so much for that break. Let me turn this down, first of all. My goodness. All right, carrying on about museums. Now, my curiosity is if this will someday be within the Association of African-American Museums. Just a thought.
The Association of African American Museums, AAM, is a nonprofit member organization established to support African and African American focused museums nationally and internationally, as well as the professionals who protect, preserve, and interpret African and African American art, history, and culture. Established as the single representative and principal voice of the African American Museum movement, the association seeks to strengthen and advocate for the interests of institutions and individuals committed to the preservation of African-derived cultures. The services provided by AAM enhance the ability of those museums to serve the needs and interests of persons of African ancestry and those who wish to know more about the art, history, and culture of African-derived cultures.
All right, that source came from blackmuseums.org, blackmuseums.org. I just wanted to cite that source, let you know where I got that information so I could be on the up and up here. So I'm just curious to know that, well, will that museum be beneficial to those in the Leimert Park community? Because they're not really a profit-making enterprise.
The first independent, nonprofit African American museums in the United States were the African American Museum in Cleveland, Ohio, founded in 1956, the DuSable Museum of African American History in Chicago, Illinois, founded in 1960, and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit, Michigan, founded in 1965.
Now, who knows? Maybe that I'm thinking that perhaps it could spark other interests from it. It could be a central focal point. It could be a central focal point to grow from. Who knows? It remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. I know the next time, hopefully, well, not the next time, but if it does get built, I'm going to have to make a trip there. See if I can recognize any tangible benefit, but far be it for me to be critical. I'm just a guy here with a mic and an internet connection that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for, and to those of you who are and have been and hopefully will be supportive of my efforts here on this program. It's just a social media broadcast today. Let me see. One last thing about museums. I wanted to touch on the different museums that actually do exist in the country. I've been to one that's in Atlanta before, and as well as the California African American Museum. Again, it's just something stuck in my craw, that for there to be already, well, there's another museum I left out, I think has been defunct. That's over in the mid-Wilshire area, mid-cities, Wilshire district, over off of La Brea and Venice. The name escapes me right now. But for a long time, there had been a museum over there. Watts Towers. I mean, that's maintained by the city. I mean, who goes there anymore? I'm just, it just, I don't know, it just strikes me as odd to have a museum there, right there in Leimert Park. It is a figurehead. That whole area does draw attention, but I have some socioeconomic concerns as far as what it will actually benefit. I mean, I'm going back and forth with this. I don't know. But let's see here. What other museums are there in this country that chronicle our accomplishments?
Spanning the entire country and united in mission, participating museums include America's Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Amistad Research Center of Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana, August Wilson African American Cultural Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, California African American Museum in Los Angeles, California, Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit, Michigan, Harvey Gantt Center for African American Arts Plus Culture in Charlotte, North Carolina, Historic Mitchellville Freedom Park in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee, National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Northwest African American.
So yeah, I've been to
African American.
Oh, here we go. Interruption. My bad.
African Americans are an ethnic group of Americans with total or partial ancestry from any of the Black racial groups of Africa.
That clears it up. That clears it up. Anyway, it says the term refers to descendants of enslaved Black people who are from the United States. Wow. That's kind of an overlap. I didn't mean for that to play, but there you go. Learn something new every day. So let's see. I have been to the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis. Matter of fact, there was a woman that was protesting out in front of it, saying there wasn't any benefit to it being there, that it didn't benefit the city at all, as I remember it. But I was there roughly 10 years ago. Of course, as I mentioned already, I've been to the California African American Museum. Actually attended a lecture there before. I had to be somewhere around 2006, 2005, quite a ways away. And let's see, what else? There was something else that jumped out. The Amistad Research Center of Tulane University in New Orleans. That would be a museum to actually go to. That would be another museum for me to go to, because if you're familiar with the Amistad case, it didn't necessarily involve slaves. It involved Moors that were converted to slaves, and they won their case. It involved a landmark case associated with those that were Moors, that were not Negro, Black, or colored. Man, that's a whole other show. Anyway, let's see. And that is from, let me cite that source, because I don't always get stuff from Wikipedia. I get initial stuff from Wikipedia, I admit, just to be able to cross-reference, right? That was from a site called, I think, African American Museum US.org. All right. So that's where I got that from. And I think that's going to wrap it up for me, because I don't really feel like, something I did find interesting. I don't know. I don't mean to deviate too far from the point here. In doing my own genealogy research, right? Of course, a question that should seem obvious kind of came up in my head, having to do with migration, how it was done physically, right? And thinking of California's history and how it's not only related to me personally, but how it's related to the phenomenon which is known as migration. And I think I'm just going to touch on that briefly and then wrap things up for the day. Let me see. Let me make sure I have this highlighted. But I ran across something here that I'm actually going to have narrated. I'm going to narrate this one part. And here we go.
California's history is keyed to migration. The most populous state in the Union became so because so many people from other states and other lands have moved there. It was not until 2010 that the number of native-born Californians surpassed the number who had migrated from somewhere else. And still today, most adults are from another state or another country. Migration predated the period of U.S. control, notably when Spain sent soldiers and missionaries into the area they named California. It accelerated after the United States seized the Mexican province and immediately profited from the 1848 discovery of gold in the Sierra foothills. The 1850 U.S. Census counted 92,597 residents and recorded birthplaces from around the world, while neglecting to estimate the surviving populations of indigenous Californians. In that census, New Yorkers led, followed by Mexicans, migrants from several northeastern states, then Ireland and Germany. 20 years later, the population had passed 560,000 in Ireland, China, New York, Germany, and England led the list of contributors. In the first half of the 20th century, immigration from abroad slowed while cross-country moves accelerated, especially from the Midwest and Western South. In 1950, Texas, Illinois, Oklahoma, and Missouri were the top birthplaces for those born outside California, and those states had been sending both black and white folk. Following passage of the 1965 Immigration Reform Act, migration from other lands resumed, particularly from Latin America and Asia, and California reflected the change more than almost any state. In 2017, more than 4 million Californians claimed birthplaces in Mexico, followed by more than 1 million from China, 900,000 from the Philippines, a similar number from Central America, and 600,000 from India. For a more detailed overview, see The Shaping of California History.
So the question, well, among the few questions I have is out of those groups of people, how many were nationalized groups of people, groups with not only just a common heritage, but that comprised of or were from a specific nationality? The answer should actually be obvious. And in understanding that, recognizing that, realizing that, not only is nationality important socially, but that social acknowledgement and acceptance can actually enhance one's lawful abilities or one's positionality legally. So that's something to get to, that we need to get to as a group that's recognized internationally. Just something to consider. something to add on to your plate to think about. All right. Let's see what time it be. Oh, yeah. I'm going to wrap things up here at the top of the hour. I did not, well, it shows 2 hours on the clock, but I did not go an entire 2 hours. I took a few breaks and I didn't start for about, I don't know, almost a half hour. So listen, I forgot to hide that graphic. I've been off break for a while. About to hide that. But I'm going to take another break right about now. See you in about 5 minutes. Bolster your immune system, help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassyofthemoors.org. The embassyofthemoors.org. Indeed. You know, I'm not really getting too worked up about people not wanting to join me on the show or whether or not they like the content, because I'm working here on supplanting my personal legacy. Right? So I'm having a bit of a lackadaisical approach when it comes to whether or not people like the content or dislike it. Because you know why? I'm not sure it matters. I'm really not sure it matters, because I have a right, just like anybody else does, to present a point of view, to advance what I determine to be pure logic. Sure, I'll be willing to engage in debate that's constructive, that can lead to a constructive result. However, I won't engage in anything that's slanderous or attack anyone's character, nor will I accept that from anybody. I don't care what platform they represent. I don't care who they are. I am just a man who has been, well, not really has been, but has been and will promote their point of view. I'm not here to willfully be a problem to anyone or anything like that. Peace to you, sister. Peace to you, kinfolk. Good to see you. Thank you for tapping in. I appreciate that at minimum of anybody. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody either. I have enough people that tell me and have told me for years to commit to this effort. I've had people as recently as a day and a half ago tell me I should keep doing this. I know from my ancestors that I'm getting this direction to go. Because I was, and it's most opportune, because this would be, again, if she were still around today, a retiree, living the retired life somewhat as best she could, as a public servant for the city of Los Angeles. A job that she didn't get until, well, over her 30s. A job that she wasn't ashamed of doing, that she actually took pride in cleaning up after other people, which she had done throughout a good portion of her life. My grandmother, Callie Ingram Hillard, passed away after being neglected by her own people. Died of a broken heart, because it was her people that failed her. It was her people that didn't hold her up. It was her people that let her down. And she passed on with little to nothing to show for all of her efforts, despite raising 6 children on her own during the most turbulent times in South Central Los Angeles, when she was left to her own devices. Little would I know that she would make sacrifices for me. Just before I was born. I say 6 children that she raised because in 1953, One of her children passed away, her youngest son, Bobby, died from an accidental fall onto a concrete floor at a single level apartment in South Central Los Angeles. That apartment was located on 109th, or actually on Central and 109th. And it was published in the newspaper. I still have the clipping. My mother was 7, going on 8 years old, and she witnessed it. She witnessed what happened when her younger brother fell onto the floor beneath him, off the dresser, momentarily passed out. Mother didn't know any better but to put him to sleep, let him rest, put a compress on his head. He passed away in his sleep. I'm pretty sure there was, some concerns and stress about the situation because she was a lone Black woman with 7 children in 1953. 13 years later, I'd come along, the product of a teenage mother who asked her mom, my grandmother, to possibly consider getting more space, to change the living arrangement. Because there were 3 teenage boys sharing one room, 2 teenage girls in another, one of which was expecting. That expected child was me. That was the next apartment that they moved from, where the fatality happened in 1953. They moved to another house on 202 East Florence, between San Pedro and Maine. Single level complex, 2 bedrooms, 3 teenage boys. The oldest one would be in and out the house. 2 teenage girls, their grandmother, and their mother, who took up space in the living room to sleep when they could if they weren't working jobs overnight. My great-grandmother, Nana, slept in the living room. My grandmother, Callie, would sleep at a table in the kitchen when she could sleep. When the man came around, the man who was her consort, that being my grandmother's consort, Callie's, my grandfather, they never got legally married, was in and out the house, came over when it was convenient. And this is after she was left on the street for a while in between residential arrangements. And when he did come around, it would be violent. It would be violent. He was gone for a number of months, I think 3 months, when their youngest son succumbed to injuries of the fall. It's actually what she told the police, and it was in the newspaper. So, 202 East Florence. They lived in the house. Roof leaked. But fortunately, this is Southern California. It was Southern California, so they didn't have to worry about weather extremes so much. But the roof leaked, and the landlord non-Asiatic landlord. Wouldn't fix anything. Roof leaked, plumbing was clogged all the time. They barely had water to drink. Barely had food to eat. And this is roughly within the span of 10 years before I would be born. My public birth date that I've put out there is the same date as the Watch Rebellion started in August of 1965. My official birth date differs. It's actually next month. I'll be 55 this year. And I'm just learning of the magnitude of everything and the sacrifices that were made, or the sacrifices that were made in order for me to have the chance or an ability of a chance to make it, whatever it is. So 202 East Florence wasn't a hospitable environment. My mother appealed to her mother to move to another location, which would, well, be better based on my previous description of it, but it would also offer an additional bathroom so that the new baby can get a bath, so that the new baby would have a separate bedroom from the adults. So Grandma Callie helped things along and moved to a little bit further west on Florence Avenue, a little bit closer to Vermont, still in South Central Los Angeles. After being, well, born in Imperial Valley 98 years ago, then moving to a house in Glassell Park near an area called Echo Park, in an area known as the Rampart Division within the Los Angeles Police Department. My grandmother grew up in a very positive environment at the time. Her father, her grandfather had bought homes on a particular street in Glassell Park, 2 separate homes. To this day, I don't know. Well, they're no longer in the family, the houses, the properties, whatever that may have been compiled, but that's another show. So, Grandma Callie, she birthed one child. My oldest uncle has passed away in 2002, and then had her other children and to raise all by herself. I didn't get a chance to go very far in life herself, but she was always happy with every day that came, only to be let down 20 years ago by her own people. She led a modest life, Callie did. She was always the one to facilitate me whenever she saw me. It wasn't uncommon for her to lay about at least $20 in my hand and tell me to either save it or use it. She did what she could. So this goes out to her, this whole presentation, the motivation that I've been getting, the inspiration I've been getting to do something. Not for myself, but for my people. And that's why I'm here. Where it's going to lead is not up to me, because I don't know. But at least it's a start. Whether or not this commentary or anything I might say or might present is in agreement with most people, whether or not it's popular, I actually could care less. Again, as I started this segment of the conversation, I just wanted to say that this is my legacy, because we all know that the social media stuff that you leave on social media tends to stay around a while. My goal isn't for fame or celebrity or popularity. As I've said in recent weeks and months, I'm not a fucking groupie. I follow my own lead. I follow my own spirit. I follow my mind and what it tells me and what it tells me to say. And what I have to say is this: I have a full understanding of who I am because I am. And I will do what I will do in order to help uplift my people, whether in agreement with you or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter is following the guidance of your elders, the intentions that they had for you, and what is spelled out in prophecy of a great man. That man being Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Anything outside of his teachings, backed up by the teachings of the big book, the big Quran, in conjunction with all of his writings, not only the Prophet Muhammad, but all the prophets, including Noble Drew Ali. Anything outside of his intentions to restore a jural society, to formulate a body politic under his conscription, based on what he wrote, based on what he intended of our people and for our people. Anything that deviates from that, I am not willing to accept. We do have to play a role. We're playing roles anyway in life. Being a wolf in sheep's clothing is among the roles to play. It's for betterment of the collective that we do this, that we do what we have to do. And it may require compliance, even if you don't agree. It may require compliance to an existing construct, regardless of how much you object to it. As there is a time and place to be proactive, as is there's a time to be reactive. Active being the main part of those words I just uttered. Just because I'm not out somewhere marching in circles, kicking up dust, just because I'm not being a vocal cheerleader, saying that I think someone's being on their square, that's not enough. It's just not. You have to create and present what's tangible. You can't create thought because thoughts exist within you anyway. You have to create something tangible and something that is material results. I have been loosely to moderately studying Moorish science over the past 4 or 5 years. Nowhere near an adept. Nowhere near being worldly. But I will tell you, that I've always tended to go by logic. And if it's not logical, I'm not going to be a part of it. Period. I mean, I don't mean to be overly simplistic because it actually isn't that simple. Because we're dealing with people here. We're dealing with having to return to a level of being considered human beings. Going out and attacking people for having a difference of opinion is a problem. Point, counterpoint, rephrase, done. We could do away with the emotionalism. Do away with the symbolism. All I can say is that I'm here working from my station in life to provide betterment. But before I get to the level of being most effective, first, I have to better myself. So no, I am not in agreement of adverse possession methods and practices. And it's not because I don't understand the process of it. It's because I was able to read and comprehend, understanding what I've read, comprehending what I've read. No, I don't agree in utilizing your time on the side of the road to present what is a principle. What I do believe in, there's a time and a place for everything. What I do believe is, yes, you can be in support of your people and not necessarily agree. What I still do think needs to happen is the concrete formulation of a body politic founded, established, and functioning in order to go forward. And in the meantime, I'm still studying and learning myself. And that's what it's all about for me. To those of you who think I might be on some kind of soapbox, I actually am. Because I've had to push away from the table more than once. It's nothing new. It's well behind me now that I used to be affiliated more directly with the so-called oppressors, or within the branch of what's known as an arm of the de facto government. It's behind me now. But those same people, the same constituency that I once worked for, they actually still have to pay my pension for the rest of my life, and that of my beneficiaries. To me, that's a personal achievement. Was I a sellout? Was I representing the man? That's short-sighted thinking to say that. What I did personally from a professional standpoint was the best that I could do within that construct, that being the occupying form of government. Absent the other one, absent the one then that I was naturally a part of. So I'm no longer really going to come down on people that hard that say that they're NBCs. I'm not going to come down on people that say that they're woke because they don't fully understand the realm behind all of this. What I will tell people, what I have told people, and what I've done myself is learn myself. I will tell anyone else to learn themselves, regardless of their skin tone. Learn your nationality and proclaim it. All right. I'm going to take another break. Be back with y'all. It's 18 after. I'll be back at about, I don't know, going on 25 after, maybe another 5 to 7 minute break. And I'll be back to wind things up for the day because it's hot outside and I want to go for a swim straight out. Hey, I just looked up at the screen and I noticed a number by the eyeball up there that tells me that somebody's watching. If you would like to be a part of the show, you're welcome to send me a message to the comment box, either yes or no. And I'll plug you in if you'd like to come on the show. If not, that's cool. I can understand that too. I'm prepared to have a guest on. I'm prepared to even go a bit longer. I'm not really on a set schedule. I got it like that. Not bragging, just saying. But if you'd like to come and join me on the show for a little while, hit me up with a question or present your POV, let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to have me a little drink real quick, a little sippy sip. Nah, no, I'm just going to have something refreshing. I'm drinking water. So you should too, drink some water. It's really going to be over 100 degrees out here where I'm at. So I'm going to have some water. So yeah, if you'd like to join me, drop me a comment, okay? And we'll chop it up for a little bit, okay? All right, be right back. Bolster your immune system. Help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, the natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassy-of-the-Moors.org. The embassy-of-the-Moors.org. How about that? I experienced a little bit of tardiness there. I like to be punctual. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I want to thank those of you who came through and gave me the thumbs up or actually came by and checked things out for a little while, however long it was or short it was. I appreciate it nonetheless. Okay. All right. Well, let's go. We're going to go and probably wind things out here a little bit. I don't have anybody that wants to join me on the line today. So I'm going to pretty much leave it alone. I think I've touched in on a few things, hopefully of substantial relevance to you, or that might, possibly be significant, and hopefully something that you can take with you to at least think about. But we also have to just each do remember that, it's a process associated that involves what's needed to be done, in order to achieve betterment of our people. And it doesn't come with, inappropriate behavior. All right. I think that's going to be it for now. Let me go ahead and wrap things up. I got that crazy banner. I really got the hang of this. Trust me, I really do. So I want to send a shout out to those of y'all who tuned in today, and make sure that you go to the website, go to the Embassy of the Moors website, and support. And feel free to support me too while you're at it. All it takes is a like. That's free, and I really would appreciate that. I'm doing two things at once. I hate the term multitasking, but I guess I'm being that I'm doing more than one thing. And it's about that time, y'all. So I'm gonna let the music play out. And if anyone else shows up and wants to talk, feel free. But it's been my pleasure presenting this to you today, Brother Dolph. We'll see you next time. If not sooner than next Tuesday, I might come back on Thursday, depending on what crops up. There's so much to talk about. Sometimes too little time, and I'm going on 3 hours here almost, and it's not really 3 hours of content. Just when you factor in all the breaks and everything else and stuff, it just turns out that time flies. So like, share, support, let somebody know, let a friend know, tell a friend, and I'll come back again sooner than later. Be well. Do your best, be your best representation of those you care about, those that came before you. That's pretty much all I got, y'all. All right? We'll see y'all next time. Peace.